Okay. Right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's cabinet meeting of Melton Borough Council. Members are reminded that we will be using the audio-visual system this afternoon, and the meeting will also be streamed live on YouTube. Members are asked to physically raise their hands in the usual way to indicate they wish to speak and to use their microphones when speaking for the benefit of all present. The microphone is live when the red light displays. Please switch mobiles phones to silent. I will now provide a reminder of the evacuation procedure. In the event of having to evacuate the council chamber, please leave by one of the 6 emergency exits around the sides of the chamber. Please assemble at the far side of the front car park nearest to the park entrance. Officers will be on hand to assist persons who require any assistance. There is legislation that allows the public to film, record, or use social media at a council meeting. This must not be disruptive to the good order of the meeting, nor include any filming or recording of the public seating area. Apologies, I don't believe there are any because everyone's here. The monitoring officer and the director for housing and communities are in attendance remotely for today's meeting. Minutes, to confirm the minutes of the cabinet meeting held on the 16th of November 2022. I'm happy to move those, and I look for a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Graham. So the minutes will be confirmed unless any member wishes to raise any amendments. Okay, confirmed. Thank you very much. Declarations of interest, to invite cabinet members who wish to do so to make declarations of interest in respect of items on the agenda for this meeting. There aren't any. I will just declare I have a personal interest due to being a county councillor, and this is on record for any matter which relates to Leicestershire County Council. Item 4, matters referred from Scrutiny Committee in accordance with the Scrutiny Procedure Rules. No items have been referred from Scrutiny Committee in accordance with the Scrutiny Procedure Rules. Move to the meat of the agenda, as I always say, corporate performance and progress report for Q2 2022-23. Hand over to the Director for Corporate Services, Mrs. Dawn Garton, to summarise the report. Over to you, Dawn.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So, as you mentioned, this is the second quarter's report on performance for 2022-23. There's some impressive performance shown in the report, with 66% of measures on track against target, and with 21% within tolerance. The individual breakdown for individual directorates against the corporate plan is also shown, and to complement the report on the performance is also information on complaints received for the same period. I won't go through them in detail, but happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dawn. I always have to say this every time. I'm still going to say it is what it is for our performance reports. It's all there, the beauty spots and the warts as well, of course, as well. But it's still, and I say this every time, and it's still, I still find it hard to believe that when the chief executive arrived and myself as leader started off in 2017, we didn't even have performance reports. Quite amazing. So it goes to show that times have moved on a long way. I recognise that it is a, shall I call it, the barometer of the council, and people do look at it, and it's absolutely essential. That's why all those years ago now in 2017-18, we actually got on and issued the performance report. And I'm pleased to see in this report that the latest position at the end of Q2 shows the council in a positive light. We are performing well across a range of services. This report also shows the excellent results from the resident surveys, where satisfaction with the borough, the council and its services has increased compared to the last survey in 2019. Our results compare favourably with other councils, and I am pleased to say that we are performing very well considering the challenging circumstances of the last 2 years. Areas that are performing well, we celebrate this, and these include the planning performance, which has improved over the last 2 quarters. This is not only in degree time, but with the numbers considered as well in terms of decisions made. Overall, there has been a huge push on decisions this quarter, with 153 applications determined compared to 93 last quarter. This is despite a challenging time that the team has faced and has shown great resilience and determination to improve the performance. Undisputed invoices paid within 30 days, where payment of invoices to business on time has improved to just over 97%. Performance is at the highest level for the past 2 years. Areas that are in need of improvement, officers have developed plans to address the issues. These include staff absence, which remains unchanged since last quarter at 2.2 days per employee. This is lower than the same period of last year of 2.4 days per employee, although this is still higher than we would expect in Melton. Long-term sickness absence remains a key area of focus for the service. Percentage of food hygiene inspections undertaken within the 28 days. Performance has fallen since the last quarter, following a higher than expected number of food hygiene registrations being processed in September. However, performance in this indicator remains at a similar level as the same quarter last year. Looking forward, plans are being developed in the service to address these issues by sharing resources with Hartpury District Council to support the team with strategic leadership. And it's quite appropriate of me on behalf of the whole Cabinet to thank the staff teams for the great work they are doing to provide the high quality services for the people of Melton. I'd look to for a seconder.
Mr. Leader, can I second, but also just draw attention really to page 18, 5.65, under rents collected. I do welcome the post being appointed to support tenants, because this should not only help with rent collection, but actually will highlight those who are suffering from a cost of living crisis in a constructive way. And there is a cost of living crisis going on, and I think people do need our support. So I do welcome the appointment of this post. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Graham, for seconding and also for raising 565. Are there any other comments to be had? So I've confirmed the recommendation is to note, and that is all. So the Cabinet notes that report. So thank you very much. That's a 2-1, isn't it? So I missed that bit. So yeah, my apologies. Moving on to item 6, planning policy monitoring reports, authority monitoring report and the infrastructure funding statement. And I turn to the Director for Growth Regeneration, who's not with us today, but Jorge is going to present this report, please. So over to you, Jorge. Do you want to step forward, or are you happy to do it from there? Do it from there then. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. This item is a combination of 2 reports. Sorry. This item is a combination of 2 reports, the Authority Monitoring Report that can be found in Appendix 1 and the Infrastructure Funding Statement in Appendix 2. Both are factual reports that are updated every year, and it's our legal requirement to publish them. Given the commencement of the local plan review, we have decided to take these reports to Cabinet this year, but in the future, we are recommending them to follow the consultation with the local plan working group where necessary. In terms of the Authority Monitoring Report, the document provides information about policy performance. For example, it indicates that our housing delivery is going well with 365 completions, 81 of these are affordable housing, and we are expecting an increase on numbers in the next years. It also records progress with sustainable neighborhoods. It identifies the need for additional employment land, which aligns with the findings in the Housing and Economic Needs Assessment, the HINA. It also indicates that there has been an increase on visitor footfall, but is still lower than pre-pandemic levels. In a more positive note, the Church of St. James the Greater in Canterbury has been removed from the heritage assets at risk. And the AMR also provides information about other elements, such as the number of entries in the self-custom built register, the duty to cooperate, and neighborhood planning. Finally, it also covers information about Section 106 agreements, but this is covered in more detail in the next report. So this leads me to the IFS, the infrastructure funding statement. That is the second element in this cabinet item. The IFS provides a summary of developer contributions in the past year, and it updates the 2021 statement. It covers contributions that have been secured, received, transferred, spent, and retained. The statement includes contributions applicable to Melton Borough Council, and the remainder of the contributions are covered by the County Council's IFS. The main findings are that approximately 190,000 pounds were secured in 4 applications, 32 affordable homes and 1 on-site open space was secured to. 315,000 pounds from financial contributions were received, with most of this money for affordable housing from the Catherine Daly House in Sculford Road. The council has also transferred but not spent funds towards several projects for a total of 77,000 pounds. 108,000 pounds have been spent by the police, Nether Broughton Village Hall, and Network Rail. And finally, 15,000 pounds are retained in relation to the commissioning bond of a wind turbine. This is a summary of both reports, and we are recommending Cabinet to note the content and allow us to publish the document in our website. We are also addressing the future route for publication, with these reports being published in consultation with the local plan working group.
Thank you very much, Jorge. I now invite the portfolio holder for Growth and Prosperity, Councillor Bindlos, to move the recommendation, provide any further introduction to the report.
Thank you, Chair. I found this really interesting. It's such a wide-ranging topic, and I really genuinely did. But obviously, members, the planning policy monitoring reports before us today are provided to us on an annual basis. They are obligatory and give us an overview of how our policies are performing, both financially and physically, against expected outcomes shown within documents such as the local plan. Throughout the last financial year 21-22. The first of the 2 reports, the Authority Monitoring Report, the AMR, clearly shows, among other aspects, that our housing delivery rates have been strong. And indeed, there has been no shortfall. It does, however, also show that employment land is still required to enable us to meet the necessities and deliver the local plan target. On the other hand, it shows us that the footfall within our town is up on previous year, but not back to the pre-pandemic numbers. This report, however, is showing us just a snapshot of now, and one wonders whether this trend in shopping, in particular, is due in part to a change in our habits, such as the increase in online shopping, and as such poses us with the issue as to how we might use innovative ways to develop and grow the footfall of those visiting the town as before. The report shows us that encouragingly, a further 2 additional neighbourhood plans were made during this period, with clearly more to come. The report is obviously an intrinsic part of the work to be done on the local plan review, as it gives us a very broad view on how the plan is performing in relation to the borough. As Jorge's mentioned, the second part of this paper, the infrastructure funding statement, the IFS, has been improved from last year's report, and Appendix B on page 141 shows the received and transferred contributions that have been added, improving the transparency of the updated document. Whilst this year's financial contributions are up on the previous one, it's really good to see that next year's financial contributions are expected to be higher still. These contributions have enabled us to support organisations both within our town and borough, and examples of this can be seen within the document, such as the Melton Police Station, Village Hall in Nether Broughton. Contributions such as these help benefit the very fabric of our communities. Members, these are indeed fascinating reports. Well, at least I think that they are, with large amounts of information. And I would like to propose that Cabinet notes the recommendations 2.1 and 2.2. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Benlos, and I'm very happy to second 2122. The one thing that stuck out to me in this report is the Church of St James the Greater has been removed from the Heritage Assets at Risk register. This is the parish church at Abkettlemy, not the easiest church to get to. Those who know it well, you can't park your car there. You have to walk either across a field or down a very narrow footway. And a stunning church, and I very well remember a guy called David Sykes, who now lives at Red Mile. Actually, he chaired a committee because it was, I believe, it was closed because the subsidence was so bad, and they believed it was built on the foundations of a Roman villa, and that's why it gave way. And at that point, when English Heritage got involved, I remember in the early days, they thought it would have to be demolished. It was as serious as that. So it is absolutely great reading to hear it's been removed from the Heritage Risk Register. That alone, to me, is a great addition to this report. You already mentioned the slow but sure recovery in the town. That's great news too. But also 365 net completion of housing delivery rate. First year without a shortfall. That's great as well. So members, I turn to anyone else who would like to make any comments. Okay. Oh, Ronan, sorry.
Yeah, okay. I'd just like to draw colleagues' attention to page 81, which is policy C4 and affordable housing. Just to note a little bit of cost. Well, Millie, you just mentioned the cost of living crisis. And what's worrying me is the lack of social rented housing in the borough, and the fact that we look at 21-22, 13.4% delivered against the target of 37.5, but only 6.12 in Melton Mowbray, which has shown that the villages are obviously taking the cutting the mustard and having to deliver. But being realistic as well is there's a few things I think strategically we may need to think about. And one is that going forward is market discount housing really reachable for those who really need it? And is that so? I don't feel we should be foregoing social rent just to please developers, just because it's easier to stick market discount housing on a site and call it affordable, when actually today I was listening that an average mortgage is going up by about £500 next year. So where's the affordability in that? The second thing is, I think we want to get more robust in this council delivering more social rented housing themselves to get people on the ladder and house people, and cut the expenditure to the general fund from the likes of the homelessness costs, which are certainly going up. And finally, we need to proactively, which I have been speaking with officers, to engage with registered social landlords, because I think we could be doing that a lot more robustly. And from working in the sector, there is plenty of money floating around where, if the right deals come through, people will actually go on board and take those off. And we've obviously got a paper coming up later on today, but I just want us to note that and make sure that's in the back of our minds, because this council can't afford to just build market housing and hope that somebody else comes along and sorts out the problem of those who can't afford to, because it'll put a financial burden upon the general council taxpayer, because we're going to have to find more temporary accommodation, which is not sustainable.
Thanks for that, Ronan. I don't believe anyone else wants to speak. All your points have been noted, not just by Democracy, but by Jorge, because I saw him scribbling away. So thanks for that. Rob has moved the recommendation at 2-1 and 2-2. I've seconded. All in favour, please raise the hand. Unanimous. Democracy noted. Thank you very much. We now move on to the local development plan. I turn to Jorge again, the Planning Policy Officer, please, to introduce this. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. The local development, sorry. The local development scheme is basically a timetable for the local plan, and in our case, for the local plan review. It also provides information about existing or expected documents that will influence our plan and decision making. And it is our legal requirement to keep the local plan, the local development scheme updated. To produce this specific local development scheme, the one that can be found in Appendix 1, we have considered the discussions at full council in April in relation to the review of the local plan, the feedback from the Melton Local Plan Working Group, and the feedback received from the Planning Advisory Service. Considering this, we have produced a short local development scheme, as adding more information at this stage could be misleading. This initial local development scheme assumes some conditions, such as, for example, for the team to be fully staffed, with the staff focused on the review of the local plan. It assumes limited changes in the policy context, and it assumes a limited scope for the review. With all these conditions, the following milestones have been estimated for the most optimistic of timelines. Regulation 18 consultation by mid-2023, Regulation 19 consultation by mid-2024, submission in the first half of 2025, adoption in the first half of 2026. These estimates have incorporated the feedback from the Planning Advisory Service, and it is considered an ambitious timetable. Additionally, the local development scheme relies on how some uncertainties are resolved. The most critical of these uncertainties relates to how decisions in relation to key infrastructure projects will affect the scope of the review. But there are other dependencies, such as those associated with changes coming from the central government and modifications in the national planning policy framework. In addition to this, we are receiving additional assistance from the Planning Advisory Service in order to review our evidence base. This work might also alter this initial timetable. With this in mind, we might need to update the local development scheme in the next months. But for now, this is the most accurate timetable we can produce. Today, we are recommending Cabinet to approve the publication of the local development scheme in our website, and to note that an update might be required in the short term.
Thank you very much, Jorge. I now invite Portfolio Holder for Growth and Prosperity, Councillor Bindlos, to move the recommendation and provide any further introduction to the report. Over to you, Rob.
Thank you, Chair. Members, the local development scheme document before you is, of course, an important one. And it's incumbent upon us to review our local plan document, as you know. And it's this that gives us a framework and timetable upon which we need to work towards. However, members, it needs to be taken into consideration that we currently have a number of uncertainties that could impact and alter on the considerations and the actions that may be proposed within this paper in the near future. And I think Jorge has alluded to that. The updates, for example, the Levelling Up Bill, and indeed even the MMDR, are critical in defining the local plan review. And with this in mind, members, I recommend that the approval of the updated local development scheme, and also to note that the document may be subject to changes in the short term. are noted. Members, I propose that Cabinet approves recommendation 2.1 and notes 2.2. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Binlos. I'm happy to second 2122. Just like to make a comment on 5.7, the second bullet point, where it says uncertainties related to the County Council's decisions in related to delivery of key infrastructure projects in the Borough of Melton, such as the Melton Mowbray Distributor Road and education facilities. As most of us now know, the Cabinet, Leicestershire County Council Cabinet, will be meeting on Friday morning at 11 a.m, I believe, and they have a recommendation effectively to give the green light to the Melton Mowbray Distributor Road North and East. And if that is approved by the Cabinet, and it is an if as well, no one knows quite what's coming, that means work, a shovel in the ground, which I'm sure most members of the community, if not all members of the community, want to see earth being moved, will start in March or April. And that will be something to celebrate. Having said that, we've all been in the game long enough to know very well, until the Cabinet at Leicestershire County Council have approved that, we've got nothing at all to celebrate, but we will sit and watch that one carefully. And I will certainly either be there or watching it on their web broadcast. So, anybody else would like to make comment on this paper? If not, I ask you to raise your hands in approval. Thanks very much. Unanimous. Democracy have noted that, I think. Thank you very much. Moving to item 8, the acquisition of 8 homes in Old Dolby. Point out, this item contains an exempt appendix. However, we will only go into exempt session if members wish to discuss anything that is exclusively mentioned within the appendix. If we do go into exempt session, there will be a short pause whilst Democratic Services ensure we are not broadcasting. Once the broadcast has been concluded, it can't be restarted. So I turn to the Director of Housing and Communities, Deputy Chief Executive, who's online, I believe.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, can I check you can hear me okay?
Yeah, we can see you as well, Michelle. Yeah.
Lovely, thank
If you could
you.
introduce the report, please, that would be great.
No problem. So as members will know, we have housing stock of around 17, nearly 1,800 homes. However, the number of properties that we have within our stock is being diminished due to right to buy, and the council has lost 137 homes through the right to buy process since 2006. At the same time, as we've heard already this evening, there is a shortage of affordable housing within the borough, and we do have a demand for homes through the council's housing register. Members recently approved an affordable housing development plan, which responded directly to the housing strategy that was developed last year, and that recommended that the council really try to proactively address the need for affordable homes through building or acquisition. So I'm really pleased to present the report this evening, which proposes the acquisition of 8 affordable 2-bedroom properties to add to the council's housing revenue account. Really importantly, the Council has a capital programme already for the housing revenue accounts, and the acquisition and development of homes is contained within that. So the proposed acquisition is affordable, and it would be funded 60% through the council's own reserves and capital capital programme, 40% through right to buy receipts. And importantly, there is a deadline to which we have to adhere when we are spending right to buy receipts, and this will help us to make sure that we are not at risk of returning money to government. In terms of progress on site, so the properties are 2-bedroom, they're in Old Dolby, and the builders have started construction work on site. 2 of those properties have already been completed. The remaining 6 are due to complete by May 2023, so relatively quick turnaround there. Really importantly, and we've spoken a lot, I'm sure, over the last few weeks around damp and mold and some of the challenges that we've got to make sure that we don't fall foul of. What's been really key is making sure that these properties are built to the highest standards in terms of energy efficiency and modern methods of construction, which helps to really future-proof properties that we bring into our portfolio. We have been able to identify that there is a need for those properties, so we don't envisage any concerns in being able to allocate them. And I shall leave the introduction there, Leader. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, Michelle, thank you very much. I now hand over to Councillor Brown, the portfolio holder for Council Homes and Landlord Services, to move the recommendation.
Sorry, Leader. Yeah, happy to move the recommendation 2.1, which is to approve the acquisition of 8 new build houses from we've got Marcus Gardens development in Old Dalby. This will be funded from the Housing Revenue Account Capital Programme as detailed in Appendix A. And just a couple of things to just basically say is just really to be absolutely clear to the public out there, as I know I've had some questions on this, is this is actually using Housing Revenue Account money, and Housing Revenue Account money is ring fenced. It's not actually coming out of the general taxpayers council tax pot. And it's really important that we reinvest any monies which we receive from right to buy receipts back into providing new social housing, because if we don't do that, that money goes back to central government, and another local authority or housing association will benefit from that in another way, most likely through Homes England, etc. We're also using our capital programme. That's the capital programme's there for. That's what collecting rents and reinvesting in our housing stock and in our development programme is all about. And basically, this is the start of hopefully a longer term plan to continually look at developing, acquiring and redeveloping our stock and the sites in which we have. And I'd just like to thank Tahir for all the hard work to get us here. It's been, some difficult discussions, etc., and challenges around possible finance and stuff like that there. But obviously the current government announcement that the rent cap's not going to be what we thought it would be. It's going to be a little bit more generous, leaves things a little better financially for us. So yeah, I just really like to recommend this, make the recommendation as I said previously, and I look forward to the next development. And it just happens to be completely coincidental that it's the leader's ward. There was the opportunity just came up, and before people say, did you pick that? I would have liked it to be Frisbee, and I'm sure other people would like to be there, but it just happened to be Old Dalby. And but my main aim would be to try and get more housing in Melton Mowbray, where the services are and where people can access those services. And that's what I'll be working with the team of officers over the next until the end of this term, and hopefully beyond that, to ensure that we've got good, decent, quality, affordable homes for our local residents.
Thank you very much, Councillor Brown, and I'm happy to second 2.1 to approve the acquisition of the 8 new build houses in Old Dalby. It's an interesting site, former military site. When I was a child, it was full of Nissen huts. Absolutely jam solid. Old Dalby used to have 5,000 troops in the war, and obviously the longevity of those Nissen huts just went on and on. I went to the Boy Scouts in one of them. We used to sit around a electric fire singing Campfires Burning, but hey ho, that was a long time ago. The site following that, the Nissen huts were removed. All the access roads were slowly but surely growed over. Yeah, if we had tumbleweed in this country, that's where it would have gone. There's no doubt about that. Having said that, there was opposition to it when the application was applied for, and my memory tells me the planning committee turned it down, but it was granted on appeal. It was granted. Yeah, it went through because the inspector said it was a sustainable site. Anyway, ever since then, the developers did a great job on talking to the community, and they started building these homes just over 3 years ago now. And as Councillor Brown knows, I walk past them virtually every day if I'm fit anyway. And the comments that Michelle made and Councillor Brown, they are of the highest standard. They've all got underfloor heating. The insulation is unbelievable what they're packing into them, and I suspect they're going to be very, very highly sought after, these 8 homes are, by prospective tenants. To me, it is the way to provide rental accommodation in Melton Mowbray, and it works well. And obviously, the developers are very pleased to help us on this one. Absolutely over the moon, as Councillor Brown said. It is a coincidence, it is in Old Dalby, but over the moon, it is in Old Dalby. And I suggest once these are finally signed, sealed and delivered, we go and take a visit with the developers and have a look at them. So, members, have you got anything else anyone got to say? No. Okay, so 2.1 has been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please raise their hands. All in favour, so noted by democracy. So that brings us to the end of today's cabinet meeting. So just like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and all the best for the new year. And thank you to democracy for all the preparation for today's meeting. Thank you very much.